that they're old enough to help them with the additional income to the house. So we see this trend even among the boys, not only girls. So in poorer households, boys and girls, when they reach an age of 14, we see that they start adding extra income to the family by working with the parents. So in this kind of a scenario, promoting girls' education at large, but also girls' education has become a primary focus for us. And we were looking at data that can actually substantiate our understanding whether our feel that we are seeing and we are experiencing, whether it is true and whether it is backed by data. Unfortunately, there is no concrete research done in this area, so which also shows the gravity that nobody is taking this area very seriously. So the only study which you can get, which is the latest data that is available, is done by United Nations. This was published on 11th February when they were celebrating International Day for Women and Girls in Science. So this was a study which was done in about 14 countries, and what it reveals is that 18% of the girls who go through education end up in science education in bachelor's degree. So only 18% of them come there. The rest of them actually opt to go to either commerce, or they go to the arts stream, or go into not even to polytechnic. Polytechnic again becomes a science thing, which is again talking about the kind of mindset that we have about what kind of career opportunities or the jobs that we want our girls to do. And when it progresses further, when it comes to masters, doing any masters in science, the percentage further drops to 8%. And when it comes to a doctoral position or doing some doctorate in any of the science related field, it is 2% only. So again, echoing with what Shashi and Archana have been talking about. So there is very less focus about why girls need to look at higher education, especially education in science. And we don't see any dearth in the eagerness among girls to study science or interest in pursuing science education. It's only that there is no enabling environment or a proper guidance. So as Archana was sharing with you all, our approach is community-owned schools. So unless the community owns the responsibility of the schools and the children, higher education of the children, there is very little that we can do. So the entire program, the foundation for this is to build the community support of parents, about support of other people in the community, teachers, and have mentors and role models for these girls so that they can go on to higher education. And specifically coming to Hyderabad, this project will be implemented in Nampalli and Khairatabad mandals. The question is, why these two mandals? When we looked at the data of school performance released by Government of Telangana, the last three mandals was least one is Bahadurpura, and above that was Nampalli, and then was Khairatabad. We are already working in Bahadurpura on similar issue. So the next two mandals that were available for us to actually create an impact was Nampalli and Khairatabad. Totally we are going to work in 86 schools. Out of these, 26 are high schools and 60 are primary schools. Again, the 86 schools are split between Khairatabad and Nampalli. Khairatabad has got 41 schools and Nampalli has 45 schools. So the school has started. The first activity, we have already got permission from Department of Education. They truly appreciate the kind of approach that this project is taking towards promoting girls' education. The remote
movement, which is based out of Karnataka. We are a non-profit organization, about 33 years. We work primarily in the sector of health and education in the tribal areas of Mysore district. And in the areas of healthcare, we work in all the 30 districts of Karnataka. We reach out to about 2.5 million people. Coming to the science education initiative, I just had a couple of things to share, which Shashi kind of touched upon. I studied engineering myself, and I was into mechanical engineering stream, which was totally not for girls, or considered not for girls. And in our batch of 120 students, we had only 4 girls. And supposedly in IIT Madras, that was a record after its establishment, that there were 4 girl students out of 120 until our batch passed out, which makes us really think why we have the stigma that there are certain fields of science which is not for girls, or science itself is not for girls. I also would like to just add upon some data where we work. We work in a place called HT Kote, which is on the fringes of the Bandipur and Nagarhole forests. Now there are a lot of tribal community there, and we work with the government schools there. About 7 years ago, we tried to understand how many children take up science after 10th standard. And there were 2,800 odd students who took up 10th standard exam. Of them, only 114 actually joined science in +1. Out of 2,800, only 114 went on to join science. 2 years later, we went back to check what these students are doing, and only 49 actually completed their course. And out of those 49, only 3 happened to be girls. So our figures are kind of largely, skewed. When you put in maybe urban areas data, it kind of compensates for what it lacks in the rural areas. But science education, there's a lot of stigma. And there's also this notion generally that science education is costlier, and why girls are pushed into arts. One more thing which Rekha had also mentioned about is about the toilets, the construction of toilets. I was just looking into Acer data, which is published every year. RT makes it mandatory for the government to set up toilets in every school. Separately for boys and girls, there are norms and all. The government itself gave it 3 years, from 2009 to 2012, to ensure that all government schools follow RT norms. From 2012 to this is 2017, and we are talking about how many toilets are there. So I was just looking up in the data for Bangalore. Only 63 schools have usable toilets, and only 59% of the schools, I'm talking about percentages, only 59% of the schools have usable girls' toilets. And forget about the ratios or how many toilets are required based on student, number of students. So we are far off from reaching those averages. Even having at least one usable toilet for students, I think there is a lot of work to be done. So through the Qualcomm support, we want to work on these areas. A lot of social stigma to fight with, a lot of social norms to fight with. So we wanted to focus on the girl child education with a specific focus on STEM. I also would like to quote, there was a study which is done on a triennial basis. It's called the PISA study. How many of you are aware of it? Not many. So there's a program for international student assessment, which is done across about 40 to 50 countries in the world. What they do is they take up 15-year-olds, assess them on 3 parameters. One is language, arithmetic, and science. India participated in that study in 2009, and only 2 states of India, that was Himachal Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, which are supposedly the best in India, participated in the study. And at that point, 74 countries or states from across the world had participated. We came, India ranked 72nd and 74th out of 74 in math, and 73rd and 74th in science and English. So in spite of ourselves, we have so many students scoring IIT ranks and all that, our understanding to conversion of knowledge in a textbook to writing an exam to actually implementing it to a real life scenario is very, very limited. So we are all very, very comfortable answering questions, but we are not comfortable questioning the answer. I had this 4-year-old kid who asked me in a school when I went to an Anganwadi center. he is being taught about the rainbow colors and all that in a small book, and he asked his teacher there, why are there only 7 colors? I see so many colors around myself, but why are there only 7 colors in the rainbow? Incidentally, I asked the same question 3 days later to a group of 100 odd teachers who were supposedly the best in Karnataka, and none of them knew the answer for it. So we are all comfortable teaching facts, but we don't question or we don't really understand, or we don't understand it to a level where we can actually implement it. So we, through the STEM education project, we want people to appreciate, understand, and then actually bring it down to a level of implementation. So with that, I would just like to mention that we are working with 50 schools in the southern Bangalore region. 25 will be the government higher primary schools and 25 government high schools. And beyond 10th standard, we will be working with 150 girl children whom we will be providing academic and scholarship support from 11th standard to their completion of their education. Thank you.